Hi there. So here I am with a bit of an injury, and so it's been the first week of an injury, and being a lover of yoga and all movement, the first thing that inspires me to move forward, and it takes a little bit of time to be inspired. I think we have to take a little time to really notice the feelings that come up with injury and changes in our body in general, and just give yourself some time and space for whatever emotions are coming up, whether it's grief, anger, irritability, and move slowly through those. Let those be for a little bit, and maybe you get to a place where you're ready to move and just start the exploration or curiosity of movement. And being in your body is infinite possibilities. So they are not limited to ways you moved before. So the exciting thing is that we can explore. We can learn new ways of being, open to new opportunities of movement and enjoyment of being with this body. So it's a process, and I'm finding a challenging one. So not to minimize that, but just to give yourself some space for it. Know that it's a challenge, but it's also an opportunity. So as you come to a comfortable seat, maybe you have an injury, maybe you're just dealing with some pain, maybe some osteoarthritis or other things with the joints, and you're here for curiosity. There's no requirements here. And if something doesn't work for you, if it's not feeling right, definitely listen, right? That's what this is all about. So take a nice deep breath in, let it out. You'll notice I have a few props for my seated posture. So that might even be the first place to come, is to find, how do I sit with steadiness and ease? And it might not be on the floor yet. So if you're in a chair, definitely find what works for you. I'm using a little bit of support and to keep my ankles steady and remaining in a neutral position. And this actually works. I feel steady, I feel comfortable. So for now, we'll see. Use a little bit different here. Feel free to adjust. So some affirmations that I thought were important in this process of coming back into the body. One with the mudra, Matsya mudra, seemed really helpful. Matsya mudra is the gesture of the fish. And you take your left palm and just place it face down, right in front of your belly. Take your right palm, thumb facing out, palm down on top of the other. So you might hold this, your arms at ease at your sides, your spine nice and tall. Feel the sense of your connection to the earth, so your sitting bones grounded. So Just going to hold this gesture just for a minute or two. And notice the sense of the palms softly touching together. Just be steady and still with whatever arises. Thoughts and feelings and sensations. And to notice your breath, just moving in and out through your nose. As you start to let go through the body and just attune to the subtleties that are here right now in this healing body, healing mind, healing emotions, healing spirit. At your next exhale, just settle softly down into the pelvis, just feeling a settling, almost a pooling of energy. Maybe a soft liquid energy like a calm, smooth lake. And that pooling of cooling, soothing energy with each breath kind of fills each of our joints. So maybe starting with the feet, just feeling a sense of presence in the feet, the ankles, toes. Just that soothing, nourishing flow into those joints. Traveling up to the knees. Soft, nourishing flow into the knees. It's like water flowing in a gentle, soothing way in a calm, like a calm, smooth lake. Just kind of filling in the spaces. And coming up to the hips. You start at the base of the spine and softly soothe each vertebrae on the way up. 26 vertebrae, each a joint. Each breath, a rise and fall and a soft flowing into the cracks and crevices, soothing the spaces of the spine. Bringing your soothing flow into your shoulders. Imagining a flowing water, a fluidity, a comfort into the joints of the elbows, hands and the fingers. Each flow back to a calm, smooth lake containing all the waves within it. And as you come up, you might notice the hinge joint of your jaw. Just send some tenderness there. and settling the mind. The affirmation might be here, bathed in soothing, nourishing energy. My joints move freely and with ease. Bathed in soothing, nourishing energy, my joints move smoothly and with ease. And we'll just release that gesture and come down onto our backs. If you need support from some pillows or some unfolded blankets behind you, treat yourself tenderly. Find what works right now. Remember, this is a curiosity of what works. So let's take a full body stretch. Okay, just lengthening out. I'm going to move over a little bit so we can see a little more. Stretching your body out the length of your mat. Good. Taking care of the joints that are healing always in every position. So, nice deep breath in. As you exhale, just kind of float your arms down by your sides and bend your knees. Adjusting your spine if you need to. And just find yourself in this position in a new shape and form. So just taking a few breaths, right? Shifting into this shape. Then we're going to take our block and just for a little bit of attention to what supports our whole body and all our joints is our belly lock and our root lock. So let's take the block right between the knees and just start with some gentle pelvic tilting. So feeling the belly on the inhale, just the expansion, maybe a little arch of the back, right? Tilting the pelvis. And on the exhale, let's press the belly down into the floor. So just the space below the navel kind of shrinks from pubic bone to navel. It shrinks and contracts. And on the in-breath, we're going to relax it again and expand. And on the exhale breath, pressing the navel back to the floor. Belly just contracts a bit. Back is pressing down. And just do that rocking a few times. We're just gently hugging the block with our knees, but just taking those pelvic tilts. Knowing that just by working with the breath and the movement, we'll start to remove some of the stress response from the body. So if we have pain or injury, lowering the stress response will help to minimize pain. So when we're less reactive, our nervous system will not react to the pain so strongly. So just take this a few times, just kind of massaging over the sacrum. And start to add in the squeeze of the block with the knees. So with the in-breath, again, relaxing the belly, relaxing the pelvic floor. And the exhale breath to squeeze the block, press your belly down. we take these last two, just reminding us that our body is a field of possibility, right? It's not limited to old patterns. There's many new possibilities. This last one, just pressing the belly down and squeezing the back. Hold for a moment. And then release and relax. We'll set that block aside. Good. Just taking your arms overhead. And on the exhale breath, just slide the elbows down. So elbows straight out from shoulders. So depending on where your discomfort is, let's see if you can find this goalpost shape arms. And we'll breathe in here. And not letting the back arch too much. So we want to have the lower ribs pressing down in a neutral alignment of the spine. As you exhale, just bring the palms forward. Right? Start to explore the shoulder joints. So just take an inhale breath and exhale. Palms come down. So as we move back into our body after an injury, it can take some time, right? We might even not really be connected to our body completely, which happens many times. It took me a while to come back into the legs and the feet. So especially if there's pain. So give yourself a little bit of time. The next time you exhale, maybe just drop the left hand and turn your head towards the left. See how the neck and shoulders feel. And then switch to the other side. So exploring the cervical spine, the shoulders, how the scapula are moving just a bit with this, not a lot. And where is there tension in the neck or in the deltoid or the front side of the shoulders? It's a good way to find that out. Just releasing. Let's come back to neutral with both arms back. Take a big breath in, reach the arms overhead. Slowly let it out. And float your arms back down by your sides. And actually, let's take them out to a T. So, a little support from the floor. And we're just going to start to cycle. So let's check out our lower joints now. So just exploring what's it like in this right leg today. So, right, so nice cycling movements from Pawan Muktasana, the digestive series, right, is just to cycle the leg and kind of notice, you know, the knee joint, the hip joint, the ankle joint. Is it smooth or rough? Is there a lack of sensation in some way? Is there a distance traveled with the breath from the heel up to the knee, to the hip? Is there some space that's out of your awareness? You know, this foot, this kind of feels like it's not a part of my body at this point since I had the injury. And that might take some time. I know in time that'll kind of feel reintegrated as it heals. And maybe some massage. And we'll bring that foot back down. Just pause for a moment and let your body relax. So sensing your hips, your knees, your ankles. have a little efforting to keep a proper placement of my foot. So being mindful of how you move and what sort of position you need to keep safe. So let's try the other side. So we'll inhale the left knee in and up. Lower as you exhale. And again, we're traveling this whole chain of command from your ankle to your knee to your hip. But using the breath keeps us connected to and aware, right? Aware of movement. So it's not just mindless, it's mindful. So the in breath, leg draws in, flexion of hip and knee, and extension of knee, extension of hip. And maybe take one more, just see how that feels. Is it different than the other side? Of course, this foot is fully in my awareness here. And as I take a breath, I'm going to take a few circles of that ankle and lower it down. And then just notice both hips, both knees, relax, take a breath. And we'll bend our knees again, right? We could start to build a little more strength here. Core is so important to our overall stability. So maybe both legs together. Inhale. We could bring the palms right under our bottom. That kind of helps keep the back stable. So let me try that out. So I'm going to turn a little bit here. Bring the knees in, stretch them up, and then lowering as you exhale out. We're pressing the belly down. Good. Cycling both legs in and up. Notice if they're different. Can you stay connected to the core? Do you need to make this a little smaller? Maybe don't go down as far. I'm really curious here as we synchronize those joints. And then we'll come back to neutral. Just place the feet down, maybe remove the hands. Take a breath. We'll take the hands behind the head. Gently press the back of the head into the hands, clasping them. And we'll bring the knees into the chest. Right, so two options. So one option is leave your feet on the floor. For this, it's a dynamic spinal twist, part of Pawanmuktasana, again, digestive series. We're going to bring the knees in and pressing the upper arm bones back. See how that feels. We press the head back and, finding a comfortable place of stability. We'll let the knees drop to the right. And there's a squeeze in around that right hip joint, or right waistline. And then coming back to neutral with the knees. Staying stable in the upper body. Let's explore the twisting through the lower spine as we drop our knees left. Inhale back to center. And exhale to the right. And just continue that motion. Good. Seeing how your body, if it starts to tense up in some area, I notice I start to kind of tense up around my injured foot. So I kind of soften those toes. And then bring a little more support by moving slowly with my breath. So that center connection to core, really important to support our movement. So if you are using any sort of movement assistance like crutches or a walker or a boot on your foot like I am, you want to kind of keep that core nice and strong. And let's bring our feet back down. Take a breath. See how that moves through that liquid energy through our joints. Is it still soft and flowing? So we're going to bring our feet and our hands up. If that's available, modification would be to bend the knees a little bit, but just keeping connection to the spine against the floor. So lengthen the spine. So we press the sacrum down, kind of feel the sacrum pressing down, and just that natural lumbar curve, because we want to keep the lower ribs knit in. We're not arching our back. And then slowly lower right arm, right leg, moving into this. I like to call it the puppet movement, but we're keeping that stability of the spine. So the in-breath coming up, and exhale out. So how do these joints move together? Do we notice a difference from one side to the other? Have we tightened up in tension or pain in anywhere in the body? Do we need to back off slightly? Maybe move in smaller motion. Could even be moving right here, just slightly, right? Experimenting with shoulder and hip flexion. Right, while maintaining that core support. And then maybe just take one or two more of those with your breath. And coming back to neutral, and hug the knees into the chest. Let's see how that flexion feels. I'm going to roll over the spine back and forth, massaging, and even imagining that from our revisiting our affirmation of nourishing fluid energy flows into my joints, creating movement that is free and flowing. Good. We'll kind of stretch the legs up. Or actually, let's take feet to floor and bring arms up to a T again. And just starting to explore the circular motion of our hip joint. So that rotation. So we can do 2 knees bent here as we circle, or a little more challenging if you're feeling up for it. Ask your body. Your body knows. Your breath will tell you more too. If you start to shallow breathe, you know you're kind of working into an area that might create some struggle for a healing area. So just listening here. And take really small circles to start, almost like the head of the femur bone is just rotating within the hip socket. And that might slowly become larger as we keep a level pelvis to isolate that hip joint. And until you get to your body's largest circle. But kind of, really noticing, is it still feel like a fluid nourishing of the joints, or have you moved into any area that feels restricted? And then slow down. And like we say in somatics, pandiculation is really a slow exploration of the tension, letting tension and ease in our muscles. So we take one more rotation to explore. Right, connection to our core is keeping our hips stable, and we'll pause here and take a breath. You might reach behind that leg, and if it feels right, if you need to, just reach behind the thigh or behind the calf muscle and gently pull it inward. So let's see with the breath the length from the sitting bone to the heel, right? And if it doesn't straighten, that's okay. You might be here, right? This is my leg that I am treating tenderly today and gently working with. So I'm going to take 3 breaths just to see how it responds gently to this stretch, and then feeling it right through that Achilles. But it's a soft stretch. It's not causing me jabbing pain or anything. So I'm going to stay with that. So thinking about whatever area you might be treating gently or nourishing, send that nourishing fluid energy. Pause for a moment. We can bring that leg down. Let it flow. And we might work with the other side now in rotation. So we'll bring that left leg up. And whether the legs are bent or straight, depends on your body in this time, in this day, just as it is. Just start to explore circular motion. Softening your eyes, softening your thoughts about this body, right? And any judgments around our injuries or expectations, because we have a lot of expectations of things not changing or things remaining the same. And it's really not the nature of our existence, right? Things change, including our bodies and including our activities. So starting to be open to opportunities or possibilities means, means getting real quiet and curious and non-judging, and also allowing whatever comes up, because there'll be a little bit of grief, there'll be a little bit of anger, maybe. That's okay. It's warranted. So let's continue your circle. Just explore what is possible today. Right? Because every day is a little different. Especially when we're healing something or if we have chronic pain. Good, and just pause as the leg comes back around and bring it up top. So bent or straight, lengthen from that sitting bone to your heel. And just kind of notice, is there a connection all the way up your leg to your heel, even to your toes? So the fascia, the webbing that holds our muscles, goes from the bottom of our foot all the way up the back of our leg and even into our lower spine. So if there's a disconnect, that can be affecting our back as well. So let's take 3 breaths. Gently pull in. And we'll just bring that leg back down. Take a breath. Fluid, nourishing energy fills my joints, allowing freedom of movement. And so we could bend our knees and come on up and over. And for some new curiosities, so I'm going to be careful again with my foot and ankle with this injury. So I'm going to actually take some blankets, and you might want to too, just to move on to our knees. So I would recommend having the blankets for both the hands and the knees, so we're level. So we could do this. For me, it gives a little more space for my ankle, so if you're having any ankle problems. So, right, a little more space for the ankle by elevating the knees and letting the ankle have a bend to it. So let's try here in our cat and cow. So in this position, hands under shoulders, knees under hips. And assessing if we're safe with whatever area of the body that we're nurturing and taking care of. And then extending the spine, looking forward. And then the exhale to round the spine. And remember, we're exploring new possibilities, so your cat and cow may be smaller or larger than you were experiencing in your previous yoga practice before an injury. So allowing a change. Change is necessary. Maybe it's real small. Maybe it's just the middle back moving. The breath like a wave up the spine and back down, exploring what's here. And as I assess the safety and stability of my pose, I'm going to move into a spinal balance. So reaching left arm and right leg back. That's going to take me a little bit just to kind of bring my weight to center. So I have it centered between my right hand and my left knee. And just take a few breaths here. So with the in-breath lengthening, and now on the exhale, I'm going to actually touch my hand down, bring my knee into my chest. And so exploring that hip extension and flexion, reaching on the inhale, exhaling, knee to chest. Pushing away from the earth provides a strength in my shoulder joints. Touch that knee back down and just kind of feel that equal shift. So just kind of assessing how I feel. And I'm actually going to move my blanket back a little bit, and we're going to shift to the other side. This gives me a little more stability. All right, so moving into spinal balance, right arm, left leg. Now this one is a little more precarious for me with an injury, but I'm going to kind of take my time, leaving my back toe on the floor, giving me a little more stability. But you might lift yours, find that steady and stable, right? I might lift it for a moment because I'm not putting my full shin down with this injury. I'm being really careful here. Good, so the exploration is what is possible. And the breath is always possible. I'm going to listen to the breath. On the exhale, my nose to my knee. And the inhale, stretch the leg back. And the exhale. So feeling a lot of strength building, right? And coordination with this injury, right? Really mindful movement. This side I'm going to do a little less because I do start to feel a little more intensity. And I'm going to move into a downward puppy. So it's kind of a recovery posture, just bringing arms forward, forehead to the blanket. Let's take several breaths. Nourishing fluid energy flowing into my joints creates freedom and movement. So I'm going to bring my hands back, still in our tabletop position. And exploring some rotation, bringing the right hand to the center. It's reaching my left arm overhead. So a little rotation in thoracic spine, expansion across the collarbones. And the exhale, sliding under. Goodness, thanking the breath. So I'm going to explore how this feels. I had a little bit of discomfort around the rib cage when I fell from this injury. So I'm moving really tenderly, right? And actually going to feel each step of the way. So if it moves into something painful, I'm going to back off. Seems to be okay. Really good pause there. Reaching through. Taking the breath into the back body. And behind the lung space. See how the breath feels here. Did you start to tighten up anywhere or restrict your breath? Does the diaphragm move up and down? And I'm pulling that arm through. Back to our tabletop, and we'll take the other side. So left hand down, right arm reaching, exploring. And again, a lot of joint movement here in our spinal, our vertebrae, and in our shoulder. Some external rotation or external, just opening external rotation. Sliding under, some internal rotation of the shoulder. So you may try that out. See how that feels, right? Just be curious. So slowly, somatically, reaching underneath. And in this position, right? So if our neck is tender or other areas, finding adjustments that are right for you. So you may not bring your head all the way down, right, if your neck is really tender. Let's take another breath. And we'll draw that arm back through. And I'm actually starting to feel this a little bit in my ankle where my injury is. So I'm going to take the time to adjust to a new position. So we might come to a supine position or to a prone position. So as soon as your area of the body starts to speak loudly or even just have a little voice, we could change what we're doing, change what you're doing and try a different position. So this body has many possibilities. So we could come prone here, right? And come into Makrasana. I think I'm gonna put a little support for my ankle here by I'm gonna bring this top blanket back so we can get really creative on supporting our body to explore. So I think this will do. That'll be good for my ankle. And yeah, so it'll keep my shin elevated a little bit, as you can see. I'm just going to move the camera a little bit this way so you can see. Okay. So we're coming into Makrasana. All right, prone. So now we're face down. And how does the body feel here? Let's take a few breaths. See if you're moving with some expansion of the belly on the in-breath. And the belly pulling in on the out-breath. Are the facial muscles soft? So yoga asana should have steadiness and ease. So there should be elements of both effort and letting go. So finding that can be when we're in our exploration mode every day, finding that balance between effort and ease. So we're going to come up into Schwink's pose. And we might have that belly pressing down a bit, maybe down, lengthening the tailbone towards the heels so we're not arching our lower back too much. And then see how that feels as you lift your chest. I'm kind of exploring again the rib cage where I have a bit of a bruising. So I'm seeing how that feels. And it's actually okay, but I can feel that spot a little bit more. But I'm going to explore it a little bit in these back bends and see what's possible. So just taking a few breaths. And the breath can actually affect the tissues, right, surrounding the heart, the lungs, the diaphragm. The diaphragm pulls the tissues around the heart and the lungs. So the breath can, see if you're restricting your breath at all, or if you can deepen it here. Each breath a massage by the connection of the fascia in the diaphragm to the heart and the lungs. If that checks out okay, let's go back into Makrasana. Rest for a moment. And then lengthening the tailbone towards the heels, reaching the arms forward, we'll move into a version of Shalabhasana. So exploring here, lifting the right arm and left leg, right, reaching out, taking a few breaths. So that cross connection from right shoulder to left glute, and then lowering back down. Let's try the other side. So we'll see if that's different. Left arm, right leg. And lowering back down. And just walking it with your breath. So nice and slow. Finding that movement. The back body. Do we feel the engagement of the back body? And also the bandhas, right? So the low belly is slightly engaged. Is there any area that is coming to your attention that you didn't notice before? Just pause. Just bring your forehead to your hand. Again, checking in with the breath. I noticed in that one there was a little more strain and my rib cage a little bit. So I'm going to soften that breath into the front side of the rib cage. That cooling, that nourishing, fluid energy. Exploring a little more. If it feels right, bring the hands next to the chest, a little mini cobra. So I'm going to inhale, just lifting chest, shoulders, head, and exhale to lower back down. We'll just do this like a rolling cobra. So maybe 3 breaths. So the in breath, just feeling the spine, right? And lowering as you exhale. Maybe a little push into the hands. Dropping the shoulder blades down the back, really good for our spinal health. Maybe one last push if you feel like it. And coming back down. Rest. Taking a few breaths. This body is a field of possibility and a creative source moving forward. So we have this creativity as humans we can use to find new ways of being. And sometimes we just have to allow our body to tell us which way to go. So let's get into our creative source a little bit, just with some hip circles, right? So as we come up onto hands and knees, maybe hands a little further forward than shoulders, so we can just kind of move the hips in a circular motion. And with the breath in, coming forward, and the exhale, back and around. Kind of stirring around from the sacrum to the navel, right? This is where our creative energy comes from. And, we might, under stress, start to really grip here and hold on. So let's see if we can release some of our fear of change and allow a new sense of connection going forward. Sometimes just changing our body changes our mind and our spirit. right? It's all connected. So one more nice circle around. Good. Stirring up all those possibilities and all the 70 trillion cells we have here. And coming back to neutral. We'll walk our hands in and actually sit our hips to the side. Swing the legs around and front if that's available. And maybe stretching them out. Right, sitting up tall. And we'll come into Dandasana pose. Okay, just establishing a tall spine. Knit the lower ribs in. Press down through your palms. And take several breaths. Press the backs of your knees down. Kind of check out, how the leg muscles are engaged. So the vasti, the vastus medialis, which is right inner edge of the knees, and the rest of the quadricep muscles. So really important to support your knees. So if you are dealing with knee pain, just kind of see, do these muscles engage? Do you see a little bit of engagement here as you move into Dandasana? That's just to note, where you might need a little more strengthening for the knee joints. And take a couple breaths just to feel your strength as you press your palms down and hug the shoulder blades down and towards the spine. We'll release slightly. Pause for a moment. You might come into your easy seated posture that works for you. And take your hands back into Matsya mudra. Maybe close your eyes for a moment. Sense each breath. Moving to more subtle awareness. How are you feeling right now? Loving awareness of all that's here, just as it is. As you take a few more breaths with Matsya mudra, reminding yourself with your affirmation today, bathed in waves of nourishing energy, my body moves freely and confidently. We could release that gesture and just feel the joints of the wrists and fingers moving freely. It's allowing nourishing energy to flow there as well. All possibilities. And then giving yourself a nice shavasana. So when you come onto your back or your most comfortable surrender posture, returning to feeling your body as a field of possibility. Old patterns are not the only patterns. Looking, seeking, exploring, without judgment, finding new patterns and new ways of connecting to your source, this body, this mind, this breath. Namaste, my friends. Happy healing and happy pathways on the journey back to the wholeness that you already are. No matter what's happening in your body, you are already whole and complete. Namaste.